Welcome to Make It Plain from Make Plain Jesus Ministries, where we take biblical truths in everyday situations and break them down to be as plain as possible. So, stay tuned and enjoy the broadcast.
Welcome to this episode of Make It Plain. This is sponsored by Make Plain Jesus Ministries, and in this episode we want to talk about a topic called Life Happens. Life happens. Life happens is very interesting from the standpoint because oftentimes when I interact with people, I say, what's happening? What's been going on in your life? What's changed? What's not changed? And a lot of times they come back to the same conclusion. They just say to me, life happens. It just happens. It's like, well, what do you mean life happened? Well, this happened and that happened and this came up and my plans were to go and do these things, but instead life happened. And so it's an expression that is often used to just kind of, justify or just say how whatever plans may have been established in advance were no longer viable. They were just interrupted, and people seem to be okay with that. It's strange that we look at it that way because it's almost like folks feel like they go through life and they have no control over any of it. Now, first, I do have to admit, there are things that happen in life that we don't see coming from any direction. Things that come and impact our best laid plans. I'll give you an example. Each morning I try to get up with a number of things I want to do that day. And the truth is, I'll get some of those things done, but because of other events that came and interrupted, that I may not get everything done on my list. And so some could say, see, life happens. But on the other hand, I have to also say that when it comes down to certain things and certain goals, the only way that you're able to achieve or reach them is if you are purpose-driven or dogmatic about, I'm going to do these things and keep it going until I achieve it. I'm pretty sure if you had a conversation one-on-one with a number of the people that you deem very successful, they would tell you that they just focus on that goal or that desire, and they would with all both feet in, all their heart, soul, everything into achieving that goal. But oftentimes the average person has good intentions and decides they really want to achieve something or be something or just make significant progress in a certain area, and they may have the skill. But because they're not as focused or dogmatic or determined that they are going to do it, then that causes challenges. These challenges can prevent people from achieving whatever they've set out for, and then they fall into this bucket of people that look around and just say, life happened. So I want to encourage you and me today this morning, just kind of looking at this a little bit more. This whole concept of life happens is really important even in today's time when people are dealing with the impact both financially, physically, and everything else of the pandemic that has been going around the world. The new normal is situated, and people don't even know what a new normal is because it's yet to be determined. But the only thing that is true is that it's different from what had been going on, let's say, as recently as 2019. So the question becomes, well, how does life impact what you thought you were going to do, not only in 2020, but beyond? How do these changes that are coming in and really beginning to surround some of your goals, desires, ambitions, how do you deal with that? And I just have to let you know there are many folks who will go through life that feel like everything should always go perfectly. And then there are some people that will go through life feeling like, okay, today was pretty good, but I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. So they're always expecting failure. But you really have to look at it differently. I like how even in the Bible, there's something that the Apostle Paul talked about. And he talked about, still making sure that, he knows what it's like to have a lot. He knew what it was like to have not as much or be lacking. And so in it, he talks about this, and I think I can find that for you real quick, just so that you know. And it doesn't mean you need to be a Bible scholar or anything like that, but there are practical things in here that really do apply. And I think this one is in the book of Philippians chapter 4. And in it, it talks about, it says, "But I rejoiced in the Lord greatly that now at your last care for me has flourished again. That though you surely did care, but you lacked opportunity." He's talking to the Philippians, and he basically says, you cared for me, but you didn't have an opportunity or the means or measures to do it. But then he goes on to say, look, I know how to be abased, meaning lacking, and I know how to abound. Everywhere in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. And so then he says something powerful, "But I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Now, whether you really are really a Christ follower or not, this in itself, and I know I read it quickly, but I wanted you to hear that in the sense of, he even realized that there are parts of life when things just weren't flowing in the way that he would like it to be. That they were lacking, meaning of resources at times. But he also knew what it was like when he had more than enough resources. But there was a common denominator or a common stabilization. But he was like, through Christ, I can do all things. So in other words, if I translate it and break it down and make it more plain, what he's saying is this: whatever the goals are or the mission that I have in front of me, what this calling that the Lord had given me, that was his goal and the mission, to spread the gospel to all the known world. What it is that no matter what is in front of me, I can still achieve that goal. It doesn't have to be that I have every resource that I could ever imagine lined up and waiting for me. It could be that I have no resources, but yet I'm still going to take that step and move forward. That applies to our everyday life, and even now. It's more important for us to be really focused, to be very determined, to go and reach our goals and to make progress on it. If your goal is founded in whether it is a goal that the Lord tells you to go do, or just something you want to do in this week or this day or period of time, in order to prevent the life happens moments taking over all of your life, you have to make a point and a focus to achieve the things that are very important that you're saying that you must achieve. And so what does that mean? That often means that you have to say, okay, I have a plan for accomplishing a certain amount of activity, or what I would like to say, achievements during a certain time period. And I leave a little flexibility for some things that are out of your control. So that lets you still be able to achieve by a certain deadline and still be able to know that you've accomplished things even though life tries to happen on your best laid plans. And so you plan it out that way. You plan it out with that little bit of cushion so that you can keep on going. One of the key things that folks often miss it on is as soon as a life happen moment appears, they just stop altogether and say, oh, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. And maybe there are some cases where that is true. The plan wasn't a good plan in the first place, and truly you may not have gone in the direction that you should. For instance, one of the things I used to like to do when I was younger is do a lot of running and sports and things like that. And that was cool at the high school level and potentially at the collegiate level, but I was not one that was of an NBA caliber or NFL caliber. So if I had said that I only wanted to be an NFL player and that was all I would do in life in preparation, then my plan wouldn't have been good, because yes, I could do very well at the level that I mentioned, but I wasn't at that super elite level to go even higher to the professional leagues. And I knew that, and that was okay. So if there was something that allowed me to get through the first phase and then to the second phase potentially, then that was good. That would be the optimal achievement. But if I decided that the only way that it would work is if I got to the Super Bowl, then my plans would not be accurate. And it would be a travesty if that's all that I focused on. That was for me. Now, I want you to understand too that oftentimes people look at life happen situations and they look at it through different shades or lenses. And there's two things that I want you to understand is that really spawn from the same thing. And that is, you got to ask yourself, do these life happen moments define who you are? And the second part to that is, do these life happen moments define who you will be? I would tell you that it should be that the answer to the first one of, do these life happen moments define who you are? The answer should be no. Some people will say yes. But I would hope that your answer is no. The answer to the second question about, do these life happen moments define who you will be? The answer is maybe. And you may say, well, why would you say maybe? Well, see, the true successful folks or the true leaders and all that, they're really forged and defined in the midst of situations or life happen moments. I would put in front of you that really a definition of who you really are probably isn't known until life happens and how you deal with those moments. Do you decide to give up? Do you decide to get frustrated and blame it on everyone else? Do you get to the point that you get so angry that you forget about your vision and you begin to take it out on other areas? Do you get to the point where the pressure is there so you divert and do something totally different that is not in line with who you are? If any of those things are true, and there are other questions I could ask you, then that's going to define who you will be. But if these points that come, these life happen moments are pressuring you, but yet you are resistant to the pressure, you may adjust your tactics, but you're still shooting toward that goal, and you're adjusting your strategy, but you're still moving forward to that goal, then I would say, yes, that would define you, but more aligned to who you really are or what you're trying to become. Hopefully that made sense. You see, a diamond goes under a lot of pressure before it becomes a shining, glistening diamond. And it's without that pressure, it could never do that. It could never be that beautiful diamond that most people like to have or wear. So likewise, you have to go through, I have to go through these moments where we have the pressure because it defines who we really are. The Apostle Paul did a lot of great things that hadn't been done. And so he went and preached to many people, as they would say, Gentiles or non-Jewish folks, but he did it through the grace of God. But he kept going and he didn't give up no matter what happened. His boat was shipwrecked, right? And at a time during the shipwreck, he wasn't sure what was going to happen, but the Lord assured him that he would survive. And he believed that, and he did. He kept on preaching. There were times when people abused him, tried to stone him, but he still kept going. There were times when he really didn't have resources or the support to do the missions work that he was trying to do, but he still kept going. But there were times when he had plenty, more than enough, and surely he kept going. So we look at that and we learn, and we say we have to do the same thing. So when you look at your plan, do you have a goal at all? Do you have any area that you're focused on succeeding in? Maybe this is a point that you're over 50 and you're thinking, well, what do I do in life? Well, you look at where you are and you figure out where you still need to be or want to be. Whether it is financially driven, whether it is just satisfaction driven, or any number of things. And then you look at, well, how can I learn something else? How can I just use what I already have? Is there a combination? And you begin to search for those things and push through and say, well, how can I still have an enjoyable life at this point may be different from before. You see, oftentimes when folks get over a certain age, they look at their past success or the past things that they were doing and figure they have to keep doing that all their life. And the answer is sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not. You have to look at your situation and figure it out and then map a direction on how that's going to happen. For those that are maybe just over 20 but still in their early ages, it's like, well, how do I now establish myself? What do I need to do? How do I get to a point where I want to go, regardless of whether anyone thinks that I can make it or not? And then be willing to put in the hard work for it. Be willing to just stay focused on where you're going and what you're doing. Oftentimes I hear these stories about folks who have made tremendous impact on society, humanity, maybe their town, their cities and all. And a lot of times folks early in their pursuit of their goal doubted them or said that they could not achieve it. Whenever we pursue something, we should already know that you're going to run into that. But the question is, can you just push through that and still look at every step along the way and achieve it such that the crowning glory won't be life happened and I just ended up here? It should be more than life happens. As I said to you at the beginning of this episode, many folks came to me and still come to me talking about life happens. With a smile and sincerity, I look at them and are glad to see them and all, but yet I sometimes get disappointed that some settle with life happen and just think that's okay. And depending on what that means to them, that may be the right answer. But there's been a number of folks that I knew really wanted more in their life and achieve more. They had talked about plans with a glowing smile, but yet at this point, they looked like they just settled for whatever came their way, and there was no push, no ambition, no desire. So I want you to get encouraged and get to the point that your story will be, yeah, life happened, but I still achieved what I had in life. Life happened, and it derailed me for a moment, but I still kept my eye on where I was going, and I still kept moving in that direction. I want you to be able to say that, yes, life happened, but I still achieved so much more because I got to where I needed to be. And I'm so happy and I'm still moving even higher. Those are the testimonies that I want to hear you all say. Remember, life happens and everything you can't control. But the things that you can control, then diligently work on those. Diligently pursue those. Talk about them on a regular basis. Think about how that's going to work. Envision the outcome and envision even the steps leading up to it, the hard work, the grunt work, the work that nobody sees, but work that prepares you for that outcome. So I want you to think about that, and hopefully this helps you. Just realize, yes, life happens, but it doesn't have to happen in a negative way. Yes, there will be moments when it seems like things are lacking, but it doesn't always have to stay that way. Yes, there's moments when things are overflowing in abundance. Appreciate them, love those things, but don't settle there. Settle for the rest of the journey. Prepare yourself. Prepare the things that you need. Set aside what you need to set aside to keep that dream moving. Make the connections during those times that you need to make. Do all the legwork that needs to be set up for the next phase. And then you'll be able to look at life and say, yep, life happened, but it happened for my good. It happened to propel me even farther. Life happened, but it wasn't a negative outcome. It ended up being a successful event. So that's what I want you to focus on. That's what I want you to just cherish. So as you look at this topic and think about it, apply it to your life. Apply it to wherever you are. No matter your age, no matter what you did or didn't do yet in your life, just know this, life isn't over, so you have more things to achieve. Do those things that will benefit not only you, but those that are around you. So life will happen good for others also. Hope this has been a great moment and a time to share with you. I hope that you were able to understand this, and I hope that we were able to make it plain so that you can apply this to your life. That's our goal. Talking about topics in a very plain, usable way so that you can apply it to your life. And that's the goal. So hopefully we achieved it. We hope that you have a great day.